Hi, I'm Stephen Downs. Welcome again to instructions on how to use Grasshopper. Got a treat for you in this video, how to create and use custom data types. Now, the website that we've been working with so far is called Stephen's Guide to the Logical Fallacies, and it's based on something I wrote many years ago. But the main thing about this website is that it has descriptions of logical fallacies. That's a pretty particular type of data. Could make pages for each fallacy or something like that, but that really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. What I want to do is to create a special data type called a fallacy. And so that's what I'm going to do here. So we're going to go into our website. We can see on the left hand side here, when I click on the make, this list of all of these different types of, just trying to get my hand pointing there, all of these different types of data. I want to add to that. In fact, it's the fact that it's so easy to add to that is why I have so many there now. And I want to add a data type called fallacy. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, fallacy ends with a Y. When I pluralize it, it's going to be YS, not IES. Maybe one day I'll fix that, but for now that's the way it is. So, how do I do that? How do I make that work? Well, I'm going to go into the admin screen and into database. There we go. And I'm going to create a table which I'm going to call fallacy. I tend to name my tables with the singular term rather than the plural. That's just the way I like it. You're not required to do it that way, but that's the way I like it. So I'm going to add the table, and now I can edit this table. So I'm taken into a form screen. All right. So the form screen is going to help me define how to edit this, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. First, I'm going to click on table, and there's my new fallacy table. Now you can see some basic things have already been defined for me. The ID, which everything must have, a creation date and a creator, so that when people create a new fallacy, we know when it was created and who created it. So what else do I need? So my original website, let's see if we can't find a version of it here somewhere on the internet. Stephen's Guide to the Logical Fallacies. Unfortunately, my main site, Stephen's Guide to the Logical Fallacies, we're currently working with it, so we can't use it. But other people have copied this, which is really nice. So here's one on a site called Gospel Outreach. Okay, so it's just the printed version. I wonder if we can see what the Stephen's Guide, this might also be a printed version. Yeah, but with nicer styling. Let's see. Yeah, so none of the nice website versions exist anymore. Okay. Well, we'll use what will we use? Let's use this one. It'll do for now. The main thing I wanted to focus on here is we've got a few things happening here. When I first created these, I gave each fallacy a name, a definition, examples, and proof. Right? So the idea here was that it would have a name, there would be a formal definition for it. Then there would be some examples. And then the way you use the guide is you follow the steps to prove that a fallacy has been committed in the piece of writing that you're criticizing. Also, as we look at it, we see that there are different categories of fallacies. We'll come back to that in a little bit. And also, there are some Latin terms. So, okay, that's pretty good. So how does that inform our database creation? Well, we need a fallacy. I'm going to use the word title rather than name because that's just more common. So fallacy title. Varchar is the type of data. I can have varchar text integer or a yes/no data type. So, and how long do I want my titles to be? Well, really no more than 124 characters. And I'll hit the save icon, and that's it. And now I can add another field, say field, fallacy, Latin, for the Latin version of the name, and that's a varchar, and we'll make that about the same size. We'll save that. Now, you see, and it's sort of one thing behind as it does the updating. So now fallacy description, and we'll just make that text so that we can allow for good size descriptions and we don't have to size our text. And what else? We could give each fallacy an examples thing, but now an example is a different type of data, isn't it? So what I think I'll do is I'll use a different type of data for examples. But we do need the proof. So fallacy proof. So, and we'll leave that as a text field as well. And then there were the categories, remember? So we'll create fallacy category. And we'll allow that to be a varchar of, say, 64. They're not going to be long category names typically. All right, so I have created my fallacies data type. Now, when you do something like this, always a good idea, we'll just reload the whole thing. And now let's look, make, and see fallacies. List, there are none, okay. But now let's create a new fallacy. Now, you notice I did not yet define the form, but that's okay. Grasshopper will give me an it'll give me a default version of the form. So, category proof. Oops, that's not right. That's just a little tiny text field. So I wanted it to be big like this. So let's go back into our database. So database. Now I'm going to select a table, fallacy. And now I'm going to edit the table. And proof, well, that says text. That's what it should be. So I don't know why I'm not getting the right size field on proof. So, well, the default the default views on these aren't perfect. Oh well, we'll just work with that for now, and we'll see how it goes. It is sort of weird that it's doing that. All right, so let's put some data into our database. So that's not what I wanted. Where did I find? There we go. So let's just move that window over here so it's easier to work with. All right, so let's add a fallacy to my list. False dilemma. And I'm just going to copy and paste because I hate typing. It's all my own content anyway. So false dilemma. There isn't a Latin name that I know of. So definition. Oops. Just this. And I'll put that in here. I probably should have called that definition rather than description. Oh well. I can fix that. Let's fix that. We'll leave the description in. but we might not use it for anything. But let's select our table, fallacy. Let's add a field, fallacy definition, and we'll allow that to be a text. Okay. And we've saved that. So again, let's just reload, just easier. So we're working on this one blank fallacy now called false dilemma. And there's, see, definition is going to be weird. Alright, so I'll take this text of the definition. Alright. So that's good for now. We're going to do some more content on this later, but that's it for now. So what we've done here is we've defined a new data type, and we've come up with a way of putting data into that data type. So I just want to add one last thing, and that's to be able to see contents in that data type. We are going to need a view. So typically, if we let's look at the views. So here are some views. Let's say like for author or for event. You'll see that for each one of them, there's a few fairly standard views, like an HTML view, which is the full page version, the list version of the view, and the summary version. That's very common, and that's, in fact, it's so common that in the future I'm going to write some script so that these default views are just created automatically by the database generator. But for now, I still have to do them manually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 views, HTML, list, and summary. So make view, so new view, so fallacy HTML. So I'm just gonna see now, let's just H1. So fallacy title. Notice we're using exactly the same sort of approach we did for the page, except now it's for fallacy. And that's the way the website works, right? And now, so the definition, and so fallacy definition, and we'll close our paragraph. And did we put any more comment? Oh yeah, we had the Latin name, didn't we? So let's just put that underneath. H2 and in italics, fallacy Latin, close the italics, close the H2. All right, that's good enough for now. I'm just going to capture all of this, and now we're going to make another new view, which was the list view. So fallacy list, and so here we're not going to use big headlines or anything like that. We're just going to list them, but we want to be able to link to these individual pages, so I'm going to put it in a link. href equals, and that's where the link will go, and then it'll close like this, and then br. So what should the URL be? Well, stcgi is our CGI script, and then page.cgi, because we're showing a page, fallacy equals, and then the fallacy ID, because every fallacy will have a unique ID. And that will give us a link to the nice HTML version of our fallacy. Okay, so that's fallacy list. And then finally, we're going to create a view, new view, fallacy summary, which will look a lot like our list, but we'll just put the fallacy definition underneath it. And maybe put a nice little HR to divide them all up. And there we go. All right, so now we have a way of showing our fallacies. So let's go back to our home page. And so here we go. This is our home page. And so we don't need the contact information. I think it's all in the footer anyways now, isn't it? I'm not sure. But what we do want is we want our list of fallacies. So I'm going to put in here keyword db equals fallacy, all, and then format equals, let's put in the summary, and we're set. So let's have a look at how this looks. I might have made a mistake, and I have. Okay, so I must have forgotten to close something somewhere. That's what it looks like. It's clearly working. It's just it's kind of messed up, eh? So I wonder where I forgot to close something. So let's look at the views. So list view, and again, let's just look at the fallacy views. So the summary is the one I used, and no, that seems fine. I'm not using any sorts of divs there. I wonder if I made a mistake in my template. Let's see, it could be in the box. Let's see if it's in the box. There's the div. No, my div is all okay. But maybe it's in the problem is in the template. So there's the top, the logo, the site name, the site title. Probably want the contents in the template, don't I, rather than in the page, but it really shouldn't matter. Should not matter. Isn't that odd? Well, let's see. Let's inspect. And let's see what I'm actually generating and why that's a problem. Div style equals float right. Yeah, my fallacies themselves seem to be in this list of page contents. Yeah. doesn't seem to close. Alright, so let's go back. We'll look here now. I guess we want to look into the page itself, right? So let's look in our page itself, edit the home page. See, I'll bet you if I just put a div here, or a closed div here, it'll look nicer. So let's preview that and see what that looks like. Yeah, you see, I think that's the way it should look. Well, it's still all off to the right there. Huh. Well, this is the sort of thing where now it gets a bit tricky, and I'll admit that, although it really shouldn't be tricky. So let's remove the contents from the page. So let's edit the home page. Let's remove the contents. And let's see what that looks like. Preview. Okay, so it's right there. And let's put a line at the bottom of the template, the header template, so that we have nice clear distinctions between things. So let's make list template, fallacies head. Okay, so let's put an HR right there. There's my problem. See how I opened the div? Oh no, I closed it there. No, that's not my problem. Never mind. So I often like to just indent stuff that's inside a div so I can clearly see where the markers are. Alright, so let's have a look at my home page again, and we'll preview that. Okay, so there's the end of my header. There's my false dilemma fallacy. If we click on this, there's my nice HTML version of the false dilemma. Then we'll come back. As you can see, I could probably do more with that HTML version, but we're not going to worry about that for now. And I would like to get my contents back into the picture. So let's edit this now. Okay, so QDB, let's put this under and see what happens. Box contents. Alright, let's look at the preview. Yeah, so the contents, and this is the footer down here. So the contents isn't closing itself out properly for some reason. So might have to do even with the page view. So let's look at our contents box again, and we have a div. I see what happened. We opened the div, and then when we closed it, we didn't close it properly. That was our problem. So let's go back to the page. We'll go back to the home page. We'll put the contents up above. And we don't need these other two boxes, I don't think. Well, we'll leave them there anyways. And let's have a look now. The preview. There we go. That's the way it should look. So here's our false dilemma in the summary. And then here's our footer. So it's not beautiful yet, but it's getting there. I don't really like having the line underneath each of these fallacies. So let's add another fallacy. Make new fallacy. And we'll begin to see how this page begins to fill out. So another fallacy. Oops, that's not it. Here we are. Argument from ignorance. This one does have some Latin. Argument from ignorance. Now the Latin. Argumentum ad ignorantium. Put that in as the Latin. And our definition. Oh, it's a little bit longer here. So here our description can be a bit different from our definition because we've got a little extra text in the description that's not really part of it. So the definition is arguments of this form assume that since something has not been proven false, it is therefore true. So let's put that as the definition. All right. So now let's look at our home page. Notice we don't need to do any updating or publishing or anything else. There's our second fallacy, argument from ignorance. We can go right there. And so I'm well on the way here to filling in the content for my new website, Stephen's Guide to the Logical Fallacies. Still some stuff I need to do some formatting and such. But as you can see, I've created a new content type from scratch and used that to fill in the data on the website. A couple of glitches on the presentation, but that's going to happen. And one day I'd like to automate all the code generation, but I find that when you automate stuff, you also remove choice. So it's a two-edged sword. So I'd like to make it so that it can automate this stuff for you, but it doesn't require it. Anyhow, that's in the future. As it is right now, a lot of this formatting you're still doing by hand, but you have a great deal of control over how your content looks. So that's it for this video, and in the next video we'll look at some things like categories and linked data. I'm Stephen Downs.